Okay, so we will be discussing, I'm training you on how to do your budget. The very first thing that you should get out of the way is to have the Levy engagement letter signed. And so this can be found generally, I would say like June or July on the Y drive here, and you go to Levy engagement letters, and you should be able to find your association if it's been uploaded. A engagement letter to perform the annual budget report and funding plan will only show up here if you've used Levy in the past. If not, you will need to email them separately to have them provide this proposal engagement letter to you. Okay, so at your following meeting, if you receive this early in July, try to get this approved July, August. So at least signed, so it's not waiting to get done once your budget is finally approved. Okay, so that is done, and you should, once it's signed, you should save it on the Y drive, budgets, and you save it in the corresponding budget folder. So for this year, let's just say for the 2021 budget preparation file, let's find Crestwood Manor, and you would save it here. Okay. Okay, and so now let's go over the actual budget procedure. So the pro forma draft is received from Levy's office. Managers are sent an email from Sue only after engagement letters are signed, which usually come in, as she says, August or January for the fiscal year budgets. And we will save all of our pro forma draft budgets on the Y drives and the budget folder. And the pro forma draft comes with a letter that you should sign, that you must sign and send back to Levy's office to get the final release. Do not wait on this because this will get plugged up down the pipeline and Sue will hound you for it. So just make sure you get it in on time. Okay, so we must have a reserve update, typically called the California disclosure. If there are any attachments to the budget of the annual policy statement, which is also the newsletter, make sure you advise Sue, and they know this by putting the hashtag symbol at the beginning of the item. The newsletter must be modified to add your association information and then save it to the 2020 budget prep folder, and then send Sue and Susan Nelson an email stating the newsletter is now in the budget prep folder for review. Once the newsletter is edited by Susan Nelson, she gives it to Sue for further editing. The final budget comes in from Levy's office because now they have reviewed and signed off on it. And now Sue will email you the edited newsletter along with the final pro forma budget to you for final approval. Once the approval is received from you, then the budget will go into print. For offsite managers, you will send Sue any extra items you want to include with the budget, and Sue will send you the Levy letters to sign. Okay, so typically some managers sign the Levy budgets, some board members want to sign them. It all just depends on your board and your association. Okay, so all pro forma budget newsletter billing will be done by Susan Nelson. Do not give Savannah a separate billing for the newsletter authoring because this will result in double billing. Okay, so that's just a general overview of what's going on. And you can find this budget procedure, everything that I just went over, on the Z drive, all procedures, and you will find the budget procedure annual policy statement for 2020. Okay. So now we're going to be budgeting in Condo Manager. So the very first thing you want to do around 6 months is email Andy and tell him to pretty please close the books for the following year. So for example, if we are preparing a 2021 budget, we will ask Andy to close out the accounting books for 2020. Okay, so you want to bring up the previous year's budget and year-end figures. This historical data will be valuable when doing the next year's budget. In fact, it's more valuable than the current year-to-date figures. So if you just combine these two, plus common sense, you'll be able to form the basis of next year's budget. Okay, so this will create, when you ask Andy to close the previous year's books, this will create a separate database. So I will show you here. Okay, so now we're in Condo Manager. To get to the budget spreadsheet, go to Financial Statements and select Budgets. It will now take you to this screen. On your left-hand side, you will see the current budget, which is 2020, January 2020 through December 2020. Your budget, January 2021 through December 2021. Okay, so if you want to just see the difference, you select here, collect, refresh always. So make sure you're always working in the correct budget by selecting refresh, and you will know that you are working in the correct budget. So when you're doing your projections for year end, you want to select projected year end, approved operating budget, and proposed budget. So in this column here, what you should do is input any figures to help the board decide on the next year budget. So for example, this is the 2021 budget. This particular board here at Bayside, they knew they weren't going to increase the dues no matter what due to COVID. However, generally I would input numbers here. So for irrigation repairs, you can select irrigation repairs and it will tell you how much the association has spent as of today's date. Okay, and this goes for the same for the entire line items here. Okay, so you can adjust them accordingly. So for example, for irrigation, let's say by year end, we're actually going to spend $60,000. Okay, and you repeat that going all the way down. So once you've made these changes and you projected your year end for operating expenses and even the just regular expenses, you select save. Okay, and now that is there. Okay, so now you're officially ready to start working on your actual budget for the following year. So we will select your budget 2021. I should say January 2021 through December 2021. Click refresh. Okay, and so in this column here, in year 21, this is where you want to input your information here. Okay, so if your landscape contract is increasing, you just simply double click and type in the new contract amount. You also can input notes. So contract will remain the same. Okay. Landscape extras, if you think this is going to be a big year for landscape extras, you can input that. Irrigation repairs based off of this and historical data, put the correct number. Tree maintenance, etc. So just go down based off of your association and input the numbers. Once this is complete, you, oh, one more thing, sorry. Whatever you do to this bottom, I should say, the total revenue and your total expenses will not automatically adjust. So you will need to go in and adjust these numbers manually. For example, if I change this to 36,000, okay, it shows here that the total expenses are $331,899, but it did not reflect up here. So that means that I will need to add $33,000 to my overall operating assessment item here, okay? And I changed it back so it zeroes out. Okay, and so as you are aware, your net income must be zero. Total expenses must match your total revenue. Okay, so you've made all your changes to your budget. You've input the information. Now you select monthly repetition for all lines. What does that mean? It simply means it will distribute all of these numbers across a 12-month period. Okay, so now you have your amounts here. And you can add notes here if it's easier for you to break it down. So, this amount divided by the number of units, I should say your operating assessments divided by the number of units, and then your reserve contribution, the 6,480 divided by the number of units equals your whole monthly dues amount. Okay. So once you select your monthly repetition, remember to select save, and it is now saved. So this is your first draft of your budget. You are now ready to present this to the board for your first review at your meeting. You simply select print. Okay. Oops, actually, sorry, it's the wrong one. You go to projected year-end approved operation budget and proposed budget. And this is where you select refresh. You want to print the notes because you have notes in there. And you select print. Okay, so now you have your budget here. You have your estimated actual numbers. You have your current year, so your 2020 current budget. You have your 2021 proposed budget for next year along with your notes here. Okay, so you simply export. What I like to do, it's just easier, send it by email to myself. And so once it comes to me via email, I just download the PDF and save it in the budget folder on the Y drive for the Bayside HOA. Okay, so now you're ready to present it to your board. If you have any changes after the meeting, or they decide they don't want to increase the dues or they would like to increase them more, you simply just go back to your budget for 2021, refresh, and again, make sure you're in the correct budget. You refresh and you make the adjustments that the board would like. Okay. Monthly repetition for all lines, save, exit. Okay, so now that part is done. The only item left now is to start on your newsletter. Okay, this is another item that we discussed earlier. So the newsletters can be found, and it's a template on the Y drive budgets. Okay, and you will find the budget template here, budget template 2021, or whichever year we're currently working on. Okay, so you will need to update this information. There's a picture. You can just go for the previous year budget. If it's a new association, just find a picture from like Google Maps of the association and you'll be able to install it here. Or if they have a monument sign or their own logo, that will go here. You input the name of the association, your 2020 dues will not increase. So pretty much you're tailoring this template for your association. There's a total of 4 pages that you will need to complete on your own. So once you do this, that's when you will mail it out. I'm sorry, email it to Susan Nelson. And then if you want, you can add additional pages as well. This could be sort of like your year-end newsletter if you like. Okay, so now your budget, let's say the board approved your budget. You will print out the following reports. Is the revenue pie chart, expense pie chart, estimated actual approved operation budget and proposed budget and new format, and yeah, and once you provide that, you will, or I should say, sorry, once you have your approved budget submitted by the board, you will then take the budget spreadsheet on the Levy website. Let's see here. Which is this. So when you submit your form, or I should say your budget, to Levy via email to obtain a draft, remember the engagement letter that you signed. You will attach that to this document. You will fill in the information here. You'll select a pro forma budget, funding study, reserve disclosure, um, and the budget, the approved budget, which is the condo manager budget that you printed, submitted to your board that has passed. And then you'll just answer these questions based on if the association is using Levy for the reserve study update or not. Okay, but you still need to submit this along with your engagement letter and your approved budget. So Levy will not confirm receipt. However, just keep it and keep track of it. Their turnaround time, I would say, is a week. Further down the line, maybe 2 weeks. So just put a reminder on your calendar. Sue will notify you once the budget is ready. Okay, so the budget form will, again, walk you through all the required documents, and Sue and the Novas and everyone else will pretty much take on the budget processing from there, which will be emailed accordingly and mailed. And as it says here, don't wait um, for the last minute. Work on your budget 3 months prior to the year end. And if you have any questions, I'm Christian, or Michael Lee will be able to assist you.